Welcome to the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Tony Jacobs. This podcast is not just about making money. It's about creating a legacy that stands the test of time. From analyzing market trends to mastering negotiation skills, we will leave no stone unturned as we guide you through different stages of real estate investing. We will bring on industry leaders and share stories from the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So now, it's time to level up your real estate game. And there's no better way to do it than right here with us at the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Hello, world. I just want to get everybody introduce you to the Professionalist Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm with Frank Rizzo. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing very well today, Tony. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yes, we got Frank Rizzo. He's a seasoned mobile home park investor with over 20 years of experience in the real estate industry. And he's the co-host of the MHP Exchange podcast. So, Frank, I just want to know, how did you get into the sector of the mobile homes in real estate investing?
You know, the funny story about it, Tony, I don't think many people wake up in the morning and say they want to become a mobile home park operator, right? Unless you were born into it. But having had a real estate career, where I started as an agent and eventually moved into being a real estate broker, I was assisting one of my clients. I mean, real salt of the earth people, first generation entrepreneur who had, come to New York, started a bunch of small businesses, and like most business owners who do not have a 401k or do not have a retirement plan, did the best thing possible, which was to buy and own a bunch of multifamily buildings to create rental income for himself. And when he started to phase out of the active management, and he was having some, operational challenges as things have gotten, where he was just at a different stage of life. Me and my office got involved to manage and kind of situate the properties correctly. And in the process of doing that, they relocated down south because, most people, as the old expression goes, nobody retires up north, right? So they moved down south. And as the family was happy with our services, they had asked me to work with them to find a suitable replacement for the income that they were going to be losing by selling their investment properties in the New York City area. So as in the process of looking for high yield, cash flowing, predictable real estate investments for them, I came across the mobile home park industry. And when I sat down with the family and made my recommendation that I think that you should exchange into a mobile home park, not having any background or experience in it, but for the reason of, it is a very sticky and resilient asset class. And what do I mean by that? I mean, typically when residents own their home inside the community, they own the home. Your responsibility is to maintain the grounds, keeping it clean, keeping it beautiful, keeping it safe, keeping the lights on, making sure the infrastructure is working. That is something that I felt that they could do remotely. That is something that I felt that they could do from a distance. And typically when a resident owns their home, they'll stay in the park on average 17 and a half years. Wow. As long as the place, Tony, is clean and safe. So I recommended them to get into the mobile home park space. And the father who said, I will only do it, Frank, if you stayed in the deal and you ran the deal for us. So almost by baptism by fire, I had to put my money where my mouth was. I had to operate and manage this community in Southeast Georgia while I was in New York. And it proved to be a very worthwhile investment and a great learning opportunity. And it really sparked my interest into the space. And it's probably, without a doubt, Tony, the best investment decision I made in the over 20 years I've been in the real estate space was to get into manufactured housing.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I already caught something to it, because up north, especially New York and California, it's the worst when it comes to taxes. But if you go down to like the southern states, you get more of an investment when it comes to those southern states.
That's a great point, Tony. I mean, you're in California, we're in New York. I think we have, every city, every state, there's legislative hurdles. It just seems that we happen to be in some areas where there's a little bit more challenges. And what I found is when you can operate in a location where you have some business clarity, it doesn't mean that you always get the answer that you want, but you can get the answer that you need. And that can help you make better business decisions, knowing that, what I need to do to execute on a business plan, or if a business plan is even executable. And I think by taking out some of those legislative, obstacles, it gave us a real clarity of purpose, and clarity of being able to operate. And that's something that we really look towards in one of the reasons why we really like the area and the markets that we're in.
Yes. So, and then you was talking about, transferring from the multifamily into the mobile home park. What's some of the biggest misconception about investing in mobile homes?
Well, I think the first big misconception in it is that these homes are mobile, right? So you have it just in the name mobile home or mobile home park. The assumption is that these homes could be readily moved. And quite frankly, these homes are very expensive to move or costly to move. So typically to move and set a home can range anywhere from $12,000 to $17,000, depending on getting a licensed mover. If the lot that it's moving to is prepped, has the connections to the sewer and electric readily available, if you need to bring in an HVAC unit. So it could be very costly. So people who own these homes do not tend to move these homes unless, of course, they're moving it to a piece of land that they may have purchased. And so for the most part, when someone owns their home, they will keep it in a community and they will keep it, they like that community living. They just want to own their home. And it's essentially multifamily housing that is horizontal rather than vertical.
That's a great way of putting it. As soon as you said that, I was like, yes, you're right on point when it comes to that right there. Because I know a lot of people that I'm around with in real estate, they don't do much with the sector of the mobile homes, but where should investors look to find mobile home deals at?
It's interesting you say that. I mean, I grew up in New York City. So in New York City, it's not a hotbed of mobile home parks, right? And no. But when you leave outside of the city areas, you start to realize that 12% of the U.S. population lives in manufactured housing, right?
Wow.
So it is a large portion of the U.S. public that is living in some sort of manufactured home. Now, they're not in parks, but these mobile home parks are throughout the country outside of, say, major metros. They're all in secondary, tertiary markets. In a lot of the major metros, a lot of times the mobile home parks, typically, the cities are looking to do a higher and better use. They're looking to build, multifamily housing or luxury housing. So they are dwindling in supply, as crazy as that sounds, which with a country that's in an affordability crisis makes this a very interesting investment at this point in time.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, because the housing shortage here in the United States is between the 7 to 9 million mark. What would it play for with the mobile homes? Like, say if they got an abundance of mobile homes, how would that help out the economy and the sector of affordable housing?
Tony, that is an excellent question, because in the affordable housing conversation, a lot of time what's missed is the fact that this is the most affordable housing solution available for people who are looking to become homeowners and create that pathway to home ownership. The facts are that a stick-built house is going to be 2 to 2.5 times as costly as a manufactured home for a number of reasons. I mean, and I've been to a number of different factories from some of the larger manufacturers in this country. It is an efficient assembly line of production where they're moving these homes out regardless of weather or condition, exterior condition, and they can build to demand. So, affordable housing, you cannot have an affordable housing solution without looking at or considering manufactured housing as a way to step people into a home ownership situation. And as home ownership is the number one pathway to generational wealth. So
Yes.
it gets people out of the cycle of renting and puts in that pride of ownership and changes the mindset for people to start thinking about longer term investments for them. So manufactured housing is absolutely a part of the solution. I'm not saying it's 100% of it, but it's definitely should be a bigger part of the solution that's being talked about right now.
Yes, it was definitely a start of the conversation because, from the way you're explaining it, it would help out our economy so much better with the housing solution. Even with, we just had the huge fires down in Southern California. Like there's a lot of displacement going on. They don't know what they're going to do with all that land, like because that dirt is so. I tell people it's dirt. That dirt is expensive because of the location. Like they don't know what to do with it. So even the idea what you brought up about the mobile home, like there's areas where I had a friend I just did a podcast with, and there was a fire in Paradise. Paradise was the way they built it was backwards. It was one way in, one way out. It got to be a fire, and he was able to buy a mobile home park. They cleared the land out, and he's doing amazing with that investment.
And he ran it back, brought it back as a mobile home park.
Yes, he did. Yeah. It was very smart, intelligent on his side to do that. So when it comes to that, also, how would you determine if a mobile home or a mobile home park would be a good investment? What is it that you would say your professional side of it?
So from us, from the vantage point of where we look at, we're true value add investors, right? So we look at any potential, acquisition from the lens of where can we go in there and create real value, right? Where can we create efficiencies in the management, right? Where can we enhance the resident experience? And many times, this is still a very fragmented industry where predominantly, Tony, it is still owned by multi-generational mom and pop retail owners. And a lot of times they don't look at themselves as somebody who operates a mobile home park. It's somebody that's, they might have inherited, and they're not geared towards really raising the standards of that community. Maybe a lot of deferred maintenance, maybe roads that need to be done, or infrastructure improvements that need to be done, or lots, which are vacant lots, that need to be infilled, meaning brought in with new homes brought in there. So for us, we tend to look at those types of communities as our target because we believe that our program adds the most value there. We can help beautify the surrounding areas. We can enhance the homes that are there on site. We could bring in the infrastructure improvements and then start to bring in new homes to get the community at large that affordable housing option where, for us, Tony, we can sell a new home on site for somewhere between like $60,000 and $80,000, which is significantly below national average. And we can enhance the resident experience down on the ground. And that's for us where we look to add value. And then we look at where we can create some management efficiencies, where we can save money through, better management, maybe utility reimbursements, making sure that there's not any waste happening down on the ground. So we take a two-pronged approach of where we can add the most value, and that's what we look at when we look to acquire any new community.
Well, that's a great blueprint right there. How to go about it. Now, on the other flip side of that, will be some common red flags investors should avoid before purchasing a mobile home.
So I would, in the last, say, 3 or 4 years, mobile home park investing has become something of a buzz in the industry. I think people have started to look for more yield or investments with higher potential for cash flow. And a lot of people have come in with the thesis of when people own their homes, they're kind of tethered to the land, and I don't have to do much to make money. And I think that's some of the story, but I think that they're missing a big part of it, because what makes a community or a mobile home park a community is really that feel that the residents have with the ownership or the ownership group. And it's not just, fix it and forget it. There is amount of touches that goes into maintaining and operating a park. So you have to have a good business plan on how you're going to run and operate that park, especially if you're going to do it from a distance, right? You have to make sure you have a good team on the ground that's going to be able to facilitate that. And I think the community manager is so important. And then you have to make sure that you're able to instill a culture on the ground of what's acceptable and what's not. Because in these communities, or these types of communities, it is very easy for a community to get away from you if you're not actively managing it. If you allow people to not conform to a certain standard, that pride of ownership, which makes this such a compelling asset class, will disappear if you just allow people to, bring in junk cars and leave them on their lawn, or to, bring in laundry machines and leave it on their front lawn. And that will have a negative impact on your community. So it's super important that you look to instill a culture of accountability for yourself and for your residents. And that makes a big difference in how your operations will be.
That's exactly true, especially like you said, having a great team. And especially if you're a distance away, you have somebody on site that's taking care of the responsibilities, the culture, keeping everything clean. And you got to think, the more you take care, I tell people, the more you take care of something, and especially no matter what it is, and especially when it comes to real estate, the tenants are going to want to stay there. They're not going to want to leave. They're like, I've been taking care of what I say, what's broken, how fast the response is, and everything. That all plays a key part of keeping great tenants.
You hit the nail on the head, Tony. And especially because, and here's the difference from multifamily, right? If somebody wants to move their home and there's a $15,000 cost to move their home, right, from one site and connect it somewhere else, and if they're only going to do it for a specific reason, if price is the same, then why they wouldn't move, right? They'll only move if you're not able to maintain that culture, if you're not able to create that community feel, or they feel that the standards have been reduced to the point where it's dangerous, unsafe, or affecting their values. So if you can do that and you can maintain that as being a focal point, you will have residents that are very happy to be there. And then we found people those residents will become your best referral source. They will bring in their friends, their neighbors, their cousins, their coworkers, because they're going to want to have a community of other people who they want to share that community with.
Yes. And word of mouth goes a long ways, negative or positive. It goes a long ways. And like you said, their friends, their families, like you're building a strong community where everybody is friendly, respectful to each other, respectful to the property that's there. So it all goes together as one.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a key component to all of this.
Yes. Now, when it comes to financial options, how can you go about financially, purchasing? What do you use financially to purchase mobile homes? Parks, I should say.
So for the parks, and I think for any investor right now, Tony, the big challenge has been in the underwriting and in the financing, because rates are significantly higher. That's why we've seen a reduction, I guess, a slowdown in the commercial real estate transactions. But we're one where when the rates are higher, we happen to believe that this is an opportune time, right? We think that anything that we're able to acquire now in the next few months, we're probably very well positioned because we're at the higher end of the rate curve and should start to peel back. And sellers at this point, if they're looking to sell, they'll be willing to be a little bit more creative with you. So we're a big proponent, especially going into a value add situation, is try to create or craft creative ways to get us to the us and the seller to the same point. A lot of time that involves some seller financing or a seller financing component. For instance, we just closed on a 271 unit community where we were able to craft that with a seller financing note, and we were able to get the seller to defer some of those payments until the balloon period ends, 4 years from now. So that gives us some time to execute the business plan. We knew that we were at a great value. We could reinvest the capital into the community to get us to where we need to be. And it positions us where it works for us and it worked for the seller as well. So I think, we've got to look at each market's a little different, but we think in the current environment with rates the way they are, being able to use different tools of either seller financing or lease options become very, very advantageous to us in terms of where we look to do and acquiring properties right now.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Attention realtors. First impressions are so important for real estate sales. Having a clean logo with easy-to-read information can impress a buyer and potentially get you that sale. Here at Boundary Waters, we excel at first impressions. If you need a logo or lawn signs, give us a call. Our experience at signs and banners have been proven for over a decade. Give us a call at 530-221-2151. Again, that's 530-221-2151. Boundary Waters Screen Printing, home of the Surf Ninja. www.boundarywatersinc.com.
Yeah, and I was thinking, that's when I asked that question to you, and I was thinking, I said, you know what? I bet you they use seller financing. And like you said earlier in the podcast, a lot of them are moms and pops. So that actually helps with the seller financing a whole lot. Says, hey, you don't have to deal with the bank. We can structure this out together and work together as one.
Well, Tony, anytime you're buying real estate, you're buying three things, right? You're buying the income, the expense, and the financing. Right now, the financing is very expensive, right, for anybody. And so the only way you can make that up is on the price. So if you can work with this, if the seller wants to sell and they know that you're a sponsor or an operator who has a track record of performance, and we've been involved in about 27 communities right now. We've been able to go full life cycle on 10 of them. We're able to demonstrate, here's our business plan. It's been tried. It's been true. We've had over a decade of success in this space. And we can show you that you're going to be invested in this community anyway with professional management and ownership that's going to be able to take it to the next step. And, the funny thing is we've actually had some prior owners who've worked with us afterwards, which we've been very proud of and very happy to have that happen. And, that gives us an added advantage where we have someone who really knows the property, who's boots on the ground. So, and one of the things that often gets overlooked, Tony, we've seen this happen, right? When you sell a property, everybody in town knows you sold the property, right? Your cousins,
yes,
your friends, and they know if you've come into this big windfall, it's the reason why, a third of lottery winners will declare bankruptcy inside of 3 years, right? It's not because they don't know what to do with the money. It's because they don't know how to say no, right? Everybody comes out, can you help me? Can you do this? But if you take back a note, right? If you take back a seller financing note, they might know you sold the property, but Tony, I took back a note. They don't have to know when you get that note paid off, right?
True.
And so for the seller, it gives them a little distance and not have the situation where, hey, I've got this big pool of money. What am I going to do with it? oh, well, this one needs a car and that one needs a little help, and I want to help this. And it gives them some time to kind of absorb what's going to happen and kind of make their decisions in the time they need to make those decisions.
Great. That's very true right there. I like that. And I have always one tax question because I love taxes and real estate. You know, people like they try to shun away from it and everything. Like this is the reason why the government gives us so many advantages when it comes to taxes and real estate investing. How does depreciation and tax strategy work with the mobile homes?
Well, that's another great question because for mobile home park investing, it's very favorable. We always like to do a cost segregation analysis and report prior to acquiring the property, which allows us to basically bifurcate the land from the personal property, from the land improvements, and from the buildings. And we were allowed, we're allowed to take some accelerated depreciation on the land improvements and the personal property. Now, in the case of a mobile home park, what you're buying is land and mainly land improvements, right? That's the value of that. And then you can get that accelerated depreciation, which allows real estate investors to shield a lot of income that's coming in rightly. Now that gets recaptured on a sale, but if you hold on to that property for an extended period of time, well, that gives you a long period of time to defer that, right? And that's a huge advantage in not only investing in real estate, but investing in mobile home parks specifically.
Great. That's great. I didn't know that. This podcast made me want to get a mobile home now and venture with somebody on this now.
I would tell you, Tony, it would definitely be an advantage and a great way to shield your income as a real estate professional. That would be, fantastic way to do that.
Oh yes. Oh yes. So what's one piece of advice you would give someone looking to start investing in mobile homes today?
So whenever I speak to somebody looking to invest, I always tell them that the first thing that you should do before you do anything is to write out your business plan. Because I'm sure right, as a real estate agent, how many times have you gotten a call from somebody who says, Tony, can you help me find the deal?
Yeah.
Right. And if I had $1 for every time somebody said that to me, I wouldn't have to buy any real estate, right? Because, and then when you ask them, like, well, define what a deal looks like, and then they don't know exactly what the deal looks like. I'll know it when I see it. Well, you're not defining success. So the first thing you should do is define success and then your expectation and what that looks like. What does it look like to own that community or park or investment? What kind of return are you looking to get out of that? What are you willing to commit to generate that return? How much work are you willing to do or able to do? Like everybody says, I want to, and again, from being in real estate for so long and from a transactional agent and broker to where I am now in that journey, everybody wants to find that home that's worth $300,000, that the seller wants $180 and needs work, but all it needs is painting, right? And quite frankly, that doesn't necessarily exist. So be realistic of the work I'm willing to do, the capital I'm willing to put in there, the timeline I'm willing to expect, and the time I'm willing to commit to make this work. And then when you backtrack that, you've really got a pretty well-defined buy box of what you're looking for. And that makes you so much better of an investor because you'll know what not to look at and you'll know what to look for. So I always say that the first step is having a good, clear plan and defining what success means for you and the dollars that you're willing to commit to it.
That is great info, great information right there, Frank. I appreciate everything that you said, like this sector of mobile home and the mobile home parks I had no knowledge about. Now, if everybody's listening to this podcast, you might need to re-listen and re-watch it over again because Frank just put out some gems out there that I didn't even know about. That's right. That's the reason why I have this podcast, so people can learn That's the reason why.
Well,
So go ahead, Frank.
No, I mean, listen, Tony, that's great. And we love sharing knowledge on that. And I appreciate the opportunity to share with you and talk with you about the mobile home park space.
Yes. This is Frank Rizzo. Like I said, he's been in this real estate game for over 20 plus years. He has his own podcast, the MHP Exchange podcast. Y'all need to go out there and listen to that also. And I just want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure, Frank, to have you on the podcast. I enjoyed spending this time with you today.
Tony, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I'd love to come out to California and see the markets that you're in and see what's going on.
Yes. Oh, yes, indeed.
And I would say, if anybody out there is interested in seeing what it takes to turn around one of these mobile home parks, they can check out our YouTube channel, Trailer Park Turnaround, where it's a video series where we'll show you what happens from finding a deal to turning it, from acquisition day, what it takes to turn those parks around, and then what it looks like at the finish line. So you can check out Trailer Park Turnaround on YouTube.
That's great. Yeah, just give me the information. I will put it there so everybody can watch it and subscribe to his channel and everything. And so on that note, world, thank you for listening and watching. And Frank, I appreciate you so much and everything that you do. All right, everybody have a blessed day. Thank you. All right.
In the fast-paced world of real estate, success hinges on information. Introducing PropStream, your all-in-one real estate solution. Find properties, analyze markets, and generate leads effortlessly. With PropStream, you're always one step ahead. Access it anytime, anywhere, and watch your business thrive. Don't miss out on the future of real estate. Get started with PropStream today. Visit trial.propstreampro.com/Tony Jacobs for a 7-day free trial and revolutionize your real estate game. PropStream, your key to real estate success. Don't wait. Start now.